it's a crazy turn of events from when we first spoke. You were going to be fighting Gilbert Burns, and then all that craziness went down. So I thought that would be a good place to start, actually.
Yeah, I think so too.
So I want to touch briefly UFC Orlando. When did you find out that the Burns fight was off, and who gave you the news?
It's my agent who gave me the news the night I arrived in Orlando, so on Tuesday. I think we were supposed to have an interview the day after, so that's why that didn't happen. They called me just when we were going to Whole Food and told me that the fight was cancelled. So at Whole Food, I was looking at all the vegetable I was supposed to eat, and I say, "Fuck this! I'm gonna eat a burger."
Well, that's yeah, it's got to be frustrating. So, I'm really curious. I mean, the UFC said that they had to shut the weight cut for him down. It was unsafe. Did they tell you how far out from the limit he was?
They didn't tell me, but the amount went out, so it was 186 um, on Tuesday. So it was what 31 pounds over on Tuesday.
Yeah, yeah, which is given the amount of time left, quite a fair bit. Now, was there any talk of a catch weight?
No. They just called me and told me the fight was off. Uh, like I said, I didn't talk to any UFC representative. I just talked to my manager. Um, on the spot, I was really shocked and didn't really think about it. But the day after, we found it was kind of weird that they didn't ask me a catch weight.
It definitely is, and the thing that immediately came to my mind was you had travel costs. I mean, you were already in Florida, so you've gotten out there, and I know the UFC pays for yourself in a corner, but if you bring any additional corners, it's usually out of pocket. You had your training camp costs, your whole camp. Was there, you know, I kind of want to ask, did they give you any compensation for any of that?
Yeah, they compensate a little bit. Um, and well, I hope I'm gonna get booked really soon because it was not a bad compensation, but yeah, I will need money soon.
Now that was my next question as well, because we've seen that Gilbert Burns, he's already been rescheduled. So was that something that they chose? Did you decide, you've been through this once with him, you'd rather not go through it again? Or did you just decide you wanted to, take the immediate little bit of time off?
Um, I was surprised that it was booked before me, um, uh, and a little bit shocked, to tell you the truth. Um, Especially at 155. Uh, I mean, I understood what they did to cancel the fight since it was too big. But if it's next fight, it's next fight. It's at 155. It's everything is kind of for nothing. Um, I was surprised, a little bit shocked. I still waiting my call for to get a fight. Um, I hope I'm gonna receive it pretty soon.
Absolutely, man. I hope so too, because you're right. It doesn't make a lot of sense that he comes in that heavy and the fight gets called off and he gets booked at 155 before you do, and you are on point.
Mm. Yeah,
MMA is a weird business sometimes, man. And this really, to me, it felt like this was a fight that was really gonna maybe break you into the top 15. So, do you have any name in mind? Anyone you'd like to fight moving forward?
Uh, well, I would like to fight David Timur. I was going to call him out after my fight. who's not booked. So it's kind of hard for me to call out someone, and if I don't know if he's booked with someone else already. Um, but like David was one of my choice. Alan Patrick, I think his name would have been a good fight too.
Do you have any preference for, is there a specific card you'd like to get on?
I would have liked Brooklyn, but I think it's a little bit too close now. Um, so I hope in the next month and a half, I will have to fight.
All right. Well, hopefully that can happen. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about, because we're both Canadian. I'm near Niagara Falls right now, actually, and you're the Quebec
Nice.
Kid.
What's that?
So, um, realistically, when you were starting out as a fighter in Canada, I imagine you had like GSP to look up to because we all kind of did. But was there any other fighter or fighters on the Canadian scene who were real inspirations to you?
Um, well, I started judo because of Nicolas Gill, the judo player who won silver in the Olympics. So I guess uh, he had a big impact in my career. But I started MMA because of GSP too. So um, after that, I would say Rory was a big inspiration too. I was just an amateur fighter when he fought Condit, and I was surprised and impressed that he was already in the UFC fighting him. So yeah, I really like Rory too.
Now, there were a lot of comparisons early on in your career to, GSP for you. Maybe because of TriStar, maybe because of Quebec, maybe because, GSP, OAM, you can both abbreviate your name to three initials. I don't know. But did that put a lot of pressure on you when you were starting out?
Yeah, of course. I mean, they were comparing myself to GSP after 4 fights. But I understand. I mean, journalists they are like this, and people are like this. They like to compare uh, everybody with the best. Um, so yeah, it put a little bit of pressure on my shoulder, but uh, I don't feel it anymore.
Well, that's good, and you know what, you're pretty much a seasoned veteran right now after tough nations and jumping to the UFC obviously after just four pro fights if I recall. Um, you know, are you kind of surprised by how quickly everything happened?
Uh, I would say more proud. Um, yeah, I'm more proud than surprised. I mean, like you said, I had just 4 fights when I went in the Tough Nation, which is not a lot. And no, normally people with that amount of fight that go in Tough Nation, they don't last in the UFC. So no, I'm more proud of what I did. Um, I don't think it's I'm the one that went the fastest, but I think I went fast, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah, and you know what? That was, and maybe I think I'm a little biased because Canada did really well on that Tough Nation season. But man, that was a fun season to watch.
Yeah, I really liked it. I think it should have been a little bit more up there, but there was not a lot of drama, so I guess people like drama.
See, that's why I liked it, and I think that's why I liked the last season of Tough with the women's flyweights because there was no drama, and it was fighting and it was training, and the fighters joke around a little, and the manufactured drama those seasons never did it for me personally, but. I was actually disappointed that they didn't do more of the nations as well. Like I would have liked to see Canada versus the UK or Canada versus Brazil.
Yeah, that would have been great. I think when they were doing it, they were planning of doing it. Um, but but maybe the plan change. I don't know. So I hope at some point they're gonna do it again.
All right, well, fingers crossed. One of the things that I read about you that I found kind of interesting, and it says that you don't get to watch a lot of MMA. And is that just because you're busy, or is there any other reason?
I watch it more now, um, but yeah, I didn't add the cable before. So now I can watch it. I'm paying for the cable, so that's good. So
Okay, so there was the reason. It was the cable company.
yeah, um, I'm still not at the point that I can pay for the pay-per-view, but I can pay for the cable. That's good.
Oh dear. So there's no clause in UFC fighters' contract for free pay-per-views then.
Yeah, I know. It should be like this. They should give us a little password and watch all the fights. Um, but I just watched the big event um, and the one on the cable. But I watch it more and more. A lot of my friends bet on the fights, and they often ask me my point of view. So I like to see them lose, So I watch the fight that they bet on.
Oh dear. Yeah, I hope you're not giving them bad advice.
Ah, of course I'm giving them bad advice. Actually, there's a running gag that every time I think someone win, you have to bet for the opposite guy. Since I'm really bad um, uh, with the betting and thinking who's gonna win.
There you go. You gotta get in the media and do a weekly piece. Who to bet against? OAMs don't pick who I pick. Um, so it's good that you get to see a little more of it because you're one of the better fighters in Canada right now, one of the top fighters in Canada. Is there anyone else on the Canadian side who you follow who you think is going to be a really good up and comer?
I think right now everybody is where he should be. Maybe uh, there's a Mendel Nalo that he just went in in Bellator that I think people are gonna talk about in the next year. And the only other one that is not in the UFC that maybe should be right now, it's Luis Anodakis. Um, but I think all the fighters from Quebec that fight in TKO right now, they need a little bit more experience before going to the UFC. Uh, but it's gonna happen soon, uh, but not right now.
All right, man. Well, there'll be some names to watch. All right, man. Again, I really appreciate you taking the time. I got one more question for you today. Obviously, Orlando didn't go the way you hoped, and hopefully we see you fight soon. But overall, what is your goal for 2018?
Well, I was planning to win my fight against Burns, and like I said, maybe call out David Timmer, and then maybe fight someone in the top 15 at the end of the year to be in that top 15 myself at the end of the year. Uh, Plan didn't really change, so I hope I'm gonna be in the top 15 at the end of the year.
All right. Well, there you have it. And OEM Olivier Aubin-Mercier, thanks so much again for taking the time today.
Thanks to you.
Have a good morning.
Bye bye.